This is your local news authority, and I'm Alaina Bailey. Midtown Plaza was designed by Victor Gruen and opened in 1962 as the first urban enclosed shopping mall. In the late 1980s and the 1990s, Midtown Plaza began going downhill, and in 2008 it was officially closed. In September, Senator Charles Schumer announced a $2 million grant from the U.S. Department of Commerce for Midtown Plaza's development. Today, Midtown Plaza is almost completely torn down, leaving 9 acres of space that can be developed. The property is worth $9.8 million, which Rochester will pay for partly from the city's Insurance Reserve Fund. Senator Charles Schumer states that, quote, "This EDA investment is terrific news for the city of Rochester and will create jobs and breathe new life into the heart of downtown Rochester. I have long fought for the Midtown Plaza project to be a new job-creating economic hub and pushed the EDA to select the city of Rochester for this competitive grant. This funding will revitalize the Midtown site, which had been an albatross on new downtown development for decades. Part of what is left of Midtown is set to house part of Paytech, a personalizing business communications firm, which is now part of Windstream. Mayor Richards said, quote, "Construction at the new Midtown infrastructure represents a $30 million investment that will create hundreds of jobs in this community. To follow updates in Rochester, follow #RochesterNYBuzz. And remember, it's not what comes down, it's what goes up."
Now for your state news, I'm Jenny Ford. Last week, Governor Cuomo, Dean Skelos, and Sheldon Silver created new tax brackets for the state of New York. According to Jordan Lipschick from the Legislative Gazette, the new system will supposedly help the state's economy and close the budget gap for next year. The surcharge, or millionaire's charge, currently in use for families who make over $300,000 will be eliminated, but their income tax rate will be increased to 8.82%. This tax is increased from the previously proposed tax rate for 2012 of 6.85%, but it is lower than what they pay with the surcharge of 8.97%. Many people argue that the millionaire's tax was raised while others argue it was lowered. The millionaire's tax is a point of controversy, especially for protesters on Wall Street who want there to be a high millionaire's tax, according to Thomas Kaplan of the New York Times. The middle class tax brackets will be split in 2 groups. One of $40,000 to $150,000, who will be taxed 6.45%, and another of $150,000 to $300,000, who will be taxed 6.65%. Both are down from the current tax brackets of 6.85%. The new tax brackets were created in hopes that families will spend their excess money on consumer goods to boost the economy. So is the millionaire's tax being raised or lowered? And will the lowered income taxes really help the state and close the budget gap? To learn more, follow #TheTaxClubNY on Twitter.
Now for your national news. I'm Julie Anderson. According to the New York Times, on December 14, the Department of Justice planned to address the new restrictions on voting laws, which are sweeping the nation. New photo ID cards are being mandated in 8 states, with 34 in the process, in order for citizens to vote. Supporters of the restrictions, who are mostly Republican, are saying the cards will reduce fraud, but those who oppose the restrictions, mostly Democrats, say that the cards are an effort to suppress minority voters who usually lean left. Since the majority of the voters who voted for Obama were from minority groups, Democrats are claiming that these are Republican-run states are using the photo ID cards to make it hard for minorities to have the ability to vote. They fear that they are issuing them so Obama will not have a chance of being re-elected. In Wisconsin, where the IDs have been mandated, it is said that the areas where the ID cards can be found are sparse, and it is necessary for voters to drive across state to get the cards. This is a hindrance for the poor and the elderly, but also to many blacks and Hispanics. The Guardian Post claims that this is an attack on voting rights not seen at a level since segregation. The big question here is, are the cards being issued to deter fraud or to deter minorities? For more, follow Charlie Savage from the New York Times to see his full story.
I'm Jerry Sheet. On Thursday, December 8th, Iran released footage showing Iranian military officials inspecting an apparently intact U.S. drone, which went down in the Middle Eastern country last week. The stealth craft was a part of a surveillance mission to map out Iran's suspected nuclear sites. U.S. officials have acknowledged the loss of the unmanned reconnaissance plane, but say that a malfunction caused its operators to lose contact with the craft, rather than hostile actions by Iran. At first, the Pentagon refused to comment on the legitimacy of the plane shown by the Iranians, but any doubts were erased when President Obama formally requested the return of the drone. Unsurprisingly, Iran declined to do so. Although the images shown in the Iranian footage suggest that the RQ-170 Sentinel stealth aircraft is mostly intact, crude patchwork and hints of damage to the wings indicate a fairly rough landing. Additionally, analysts have commented on the hidden underside of the craft in the video, speculating that there was probably more than meets the eye. So what can the Iranians gain from the Sentinel aircraft? The engine and payload used by the drone are taken from other aircrafts, making them already relatively well known, and the electronics, information systems, and control algorithms routinely require authentication codes in combat situations, making them hard to unlock and decode. However, it is still possible for the Iranians to learn much from the drone, especially with the help of Russian and Chinese diplomats who have taken interest in the situation. This incident has undoubtedly damaged the public relations with the Middle Eastern country, as Iran has complained that the drone overflights represent an act of aggression in violation of its sovereignty. Is the Iranian possession of the U.S. spy drone a serious threat? What should be done about this problem? For more information, go to bbc.co.uk.
For voting. We're discussing whether the ID cards are being used to deter minorities or to deter fraud.
I'm definitely for the ID identification because for voting you definitely need to deter these voting frauds and photographs of these individuals who help to do that.
Yeah, I agree with Jerry because it's definitely deterring the fraud because while also you're collecting all your information in one card. Once you have the card, it's very simple to go and vote. You don't have to bring certain forms, like such as when you apply for a permit, you need certain forms and different numbers that identify yourself.
Well, I think that it somewhat is deterring minorities because while I think it's a good idea to have to get an ID card because to prove that you're that person, most people have ID cards that are photo IDs already, and why would they need to go get a special one just to vote? They already have their licenses, these cool IDs, if they don't have a permit yet. So most of them already have that.
Right, they can use those. And I also think it is a little bit to try to deter fraud, but I think it's a little bit extreme for the Democrats to say that this is being put in place just to deter minorities. It's a little bit of an exaggeration when it definitely is to deter fraud, but it's being a little beyond.
Yeah, because once you have that card, it makes it a very simple process. And maybe it'll even encourage voting.
It does make it hard for the poor and the elderly to get the cards, though, because it was stated that the places where you can get these identification cards are hard to find. So in Wisconsin, where you have to have the cards, you have to travel across the state to get them. Well, for more for this roundtable discussion, follow the CIA Newscast on Twitter.